With the condition of everything going on in the Western world, it's no wonder people are looking to move abroad to other countries to start over and for a better life for themselves. But there is a dark side to moving abroad. From loneliness to personal safety to the red tape involved with traveling to these places in the first place, it brings to caution some things to be aware of when making that move.
There are so many things people don't tell you about moving abroad, and I had to talk about this because I'm the first one to say I'm living the dream in Bali, because I moved to Bali by myself, I built a life there, I travel solo, I have a beautiful life, but there are trade-offs I had to talk about because social media needs more of this. You all see perfect lives out there. I see them as well, and I'm like, wow, these people is doing so well. They are amazing. They create incredible content. They have amazing lives. No, and I'm someone who is living the dream and I share that part of my life, but I like to share as well the reality. And the reality is I'm going to Ibiza in 2 days. I'm not complaining about that, obviously. But then I'm going back to Bali on the 12th of September. And I'm freaking sad because in 2 days, no, actually tomorrow, I have to say bye to my friends in London. My people in London, they are family. They are family because I went through hell and back in London to become a full-time freelance photographer and creative director, and my friends were there for me. They were there every time I was falling. So I love them. I'm super attached to them. I can be my real self with them because they love me as I am. And I'm freaking sad to leave. And nobody talks about this. Everyone, why you are going to Bali or you are going to Ibiza? Yes, but I don't have my people. I don't have my friends, my family in Spain. So that's one of the trade-offs. It's a massive one. I miss my friends, and yes, in Bali I have friends, but it's not the same. And yeah, then there is another thing as well. I love playing music and going through my old records. And that's another thing because I move around a lot and I travel a lot. Obviously, I left so many things behind. And it's a pain in the ass because I have things spread everywhere in Spain and in London. And yeah, the records are very heavy to send to Bali. I will in some point. My suitcase is packed. So yeah, you always leave things behind, people and material things. I just wanted to talk about this because I needed to show the reality.
This year has been my hardest medical year that I recall in my life. I started bioidentical hormone replacement therapy in October because I was having migraines, and it did help with the migraine. But after several months of the estrogen patch and the progesterone pill, I began having debilitating anxiety that turned into panic, that turned into almost agoraphobia, which doesn't match my lifestyle. I live abroad, I travel, I'm not in the same place for very long at a time. And then my stomach just kept getting wrecked. So I had a colonoscopy actually here in Bali at the Bali International Hospital, and they took 6 or 7 biopsies, and every biopsy showed a different virus, a different bacteria, a different parasite. I ended up having Salmonella, E. coli, H. pylori, things I'd never heard of. Then at one of the massage places, I contracted this double eye infection, this like parasitic double eye infection, and had to go to the ER in this little remote fisher village in northeast Bali. And then a couple of days after that, I was at the gym and I was leaving and something bit my arm, and I had this massive allergic reaction, fever, my arm swelled up, ended up in the ER here in Sanur at Bali International Hospital. The positive about this is ER visits here aren't much. In the Fisherman's Village, the ER visit was about $30. I spent 5 hours in the ER here in Sanur, lots of blood work. They drew the line around it. They wanted to make sure it wasn't something like cellulitis or MRSA. They gave me IV treatments. It was $150, somewhere around that. But I've been living abroad since July 2021 for a majority of the year. I will go home to Alabama, or we lived in Washington State, visit my mom in Alabama. But for the most part, we've lived abroad. And the part that nobody talks about is it can get lonely and it can get scary. When you're not in one place long enough to build community, it can be pretty isolating. Don't get me wrong. Don't hear something I'm not saying. I'm very grateful for my life. Very grateful for this life that I prayed for many, many years, especially as a teenager. But it's something to consider if you're wanting to move abroad. You have to learn to do things on your own. Walk on your own, go to the gym on your own, go out to eat on your own, go to emergency room by yourself, be sick by yourself. When I got salmonella in January, I was by myself. My partner wasn't here. I was sick. I didn't know anybody. It's definitely something to consider. Would I change anything? No, obviously I wouldn't. I could stop living this life at any time. I have a house in Alabama. I could buy a house somewhere else in the States. But for now, I want to see the world. I want to do all the things I can while I can, even if it feels like sometimes the travel damn near kills me. Just a reminder, if you're going through hard times, you're feeling alone, you're not the only one. And as a reminder, you're always going to be okay. You're always going to make it through this. And it's just another adventure.
I want to talk about where not to travel if you are a dark-skinned Black person. Hi, my name is Monique, and I've traveled to roughly 30 countries, most of them solo. The country that treated me the worst as a dark-skinned Black woman is Italy. In 2018, I decided that I wanted to take a trip over to Europe and visit a couple of countries while I was there. So on this trip, I visited Italy as well as Greece. I spent 4 days in Italy and 4 days in Greece. From the moment that I landed in the Rome International Airport, I was treated poorly. As I always do, I booked my transportation to get from the airport to my hostel before landing in Italy. So when I got there, all I had to do was find the company that was supposed to be transporting me, and then they would help me do the rest. Ciao. When I got to the kiosk of the company that I had already previously booked, those people would not even talk to me. The woman told me, wait over there, wait for my colleague to get back. But meanwhile, there were other people, palm-colored people, that were using the same transportation company, and they were helped immediately. The issue was not that they didn't speak any English. It's that they didn't want to talk to me. I heard them speaking English to the other American people. Now, this is my first time in Italy, so I kind of brushed off the airport experience, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to let that ruin my experience. I'm just going to keep pushing forward. I get transported to my hostel. The hostel that I was staying in was very diverse, so I did feel really safe there. Now, I chose this hostel because it was right next door to a market/grocery store, so I knew that I could get snacks and things like that for my room. I get checked into my hostel, and then I go right next door to the market. Y'all, I have never in my life been followed around a grocery store the way I was in Rome. It was this man's sole job to follow me aisle to aisle to watch me to make sure that I didn't steal something. Now, this market, it was small, but there were at least 25 people in there doing the same thing I was doing. But because I was the only Black person in there at that time, I was being watched. There was even one time that I was trying to look at the ingredients of something by using my Google Translate app. If you guys don't know, the app not only translates the languages verbally, but if you put it up to a picture that has a different language and you wanted to translate it to English, it will do that as well. So I was trying to do that, and then the man, he comes over, no photo. And I'm trying to explain to him that I wasn't taking a photo. I was trying to see the ingredients, but he got so aggressive with me that I damn near just I didn't even want whatever I was looking at anymore. I checked out with a couple of items that I had, and I went on about my business. On the day that I visited Florence and Pisa, Italy, which is what you're looking at in the photo, I was in Florence, Italy here. I was on this tour with a white woman and her teenage son. They were from Texas. It was just the three of us on this full-day tour. Things were so bad that she even noticed how poorly they were treating me. And she was like, you know what? You're sticking with us for the day. Wherever, we go, you're just going to come with us because I see the way that they're treating you and it's not right. For a white woman to see and witness how poorly I was being treated, that should speak volumes. While on this tour, I was trying to buy a shirt for my son from a street vendor while we were in Florence, Italy, when we made a stop. The man wouldn't even sell me a t-shirt. He was so busy trying to service other people, and I have the money in hand. I'm not even asking any questions. All I wanted to make sure was the sizing was appropriate, and I was going to just pay him for the shirt. He didn't even want to service me. After my second day in Rome, I wanted to switch my flight and leave and get up out of there because the way I was treated was just so blatantly disrespectful that I didn't even want to spend the next 2 days there. The day I visited the Colosseum, I took the train from my hostel to get to the Colosseum. That was another reason I chose that hostel, was because it was in a central area and I could take the train. When I got off the train and I was trying to find out where to meet my tour group, this man, I met him, he helped me to find out where I needed to go, but he also told me that Africans are treated so bad in Italy. Now, I know and understand that not everyone's experience will be like this, and I'm pretty sure that there are other dark-skinned women who had a different experience from me. But for what I'm saying, just be cautious, be aware that this could potentially happen to you if you do visit Rome, and yeah, just keep that in mind.
We lived in Thailand for a while, and don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful country, but here's why we ultimately made the decision to leave. As much as we love the calm, the food, and the culture, we personally felt like something was missing. The spiritual alignment just wasn't there for us as a family. As entrepreneurs, the economy structure in Thailand didn't support what we do for a living. It wasn't a place where we could thrive long-term financially. Then our children, they struggled to find consistent opportunities like sports, social life, and growth. We wanted them to have more access to youth programs, sporting events, things of that nature, but it's just not developed there. This is what they don't tell you about getting these visas. Every 180 days, we were spending hundreds of dollars to stay there legally. Why did we pay so much for a visa only to have to leave every few months and still pay 1,900 baht to extend it? For a family of four, those costs, they stack up fast. Even after submitting notarized documentations to the U.S. government, the embassy, certified name statements, all of these applications, my children and spouse were still denied the DTV visa 3 times. And during the process, the requirements kept changing. And because of that, the system isn't really clear for families like ours. At the end of the day, we found a better opportunity. We left the country. No more red tape and a more affordable life without having to keep looking over our shoulders for another visa run. Thailand will always hold a special place in our journey, but for where we're going, we just needed more.
Okay, let's talk about the dark side of Dubai. Now, a lot of people are moving out here, and there are quite a few negatives about moving to the UAE. So let's go through them, because I have been doing this for 3 years. I'm an accountant in the UAE and in the UK, and I'm a specialist in opening up free zone companies and mainland companies in the UAE. So let's get into it. The thing is, I would not come here if you don't have a business or a job offer before you actually move over. And the reason for that is because it's just so expensive here, and the cost of living is extreme. So if you are thinking about moving, I would say at least have about 6 months worth of expenses that you can actually survive on if you do lose your job or if something happens. That's kind of like a basic rule anyway, but at the end of this video I will go through the do's and don'ts as well. However, what I do say to a lot of people is that if you do have a family member or somebody that you know, like connections out here in the UAE, then you can make that move here or come here on a job search visa and have a look for roles out here while you potentially stay with them. The other thing is, it is not what it is on social media. So a lot of it that you see on social media is for that 5-second clip. It might not necessarily be like that for you if you were to move out here. So just bear that in mind, and don't be disheartened when you come here and you don't have that lifestyle where you're driving around Lamborghinis every day, because that is not reality. My do's and don'ts about moving to the UAE, potentially for you if you are thinking about it. Now, the first thing is I would get a legitimate job offer. So make sure that you've got that contract in place, you've got that start date set, and you are ready to go. I've heard a lot of people where the employers would actually pull out last minute, and they've made all their moves in the UK. They've got their packing company sorted. They've told their employer that they're moving. etc. So that's a bit disheartening. So just would also definitely consider income. And the reason for this is because a lot of the jobs here aren't paying what they used to pay anymore because there's just so many people coming here. So if you are getting a job here, if you're a single person moving over here on your own, I would say 30,000 a month comfortably you can live in the UAE, like really comfortably. And if you are a family, say a family of 3 or 4, I would say around 60,000 because you have to also think about school fees and things like that. So, and a bigger space. So things like that I would definitely consider, pay being one of them. They don't just look at your passport anymore. They look at other things like qualifications, how much experience you have, etc., etc. You really do need to stand out from the crowd now because there are just so many applicants. Is if you have a family member or some networks out here. Now, it can be quite a lonely place, the UAE. So a lot of people that move out here, they get quite lonely, even though they might have a great lifestyle, they'll be quite lonely and they want to go back. The thing is, if you are not a material person. Now, the reason why I say that is because in the UAE, everyone has money. So in the UK, it's a bit different. You've got that high and low kind of society. Now, here are my don'ts. So if you are thinking about moving, I would not move if you are just looking for work, you're kind of like slow with it, you're kind of like, I'll just stop working in the UK and move over. I wouldn't do that because the cost of living is a lot here. Now, as I spoke about before, I would have at least 6 months worth of expenses with you when you move over so that you can cover for all of that when you're here, if you don't have family and friends. But what I would highly recommend is to get that job offer before you actually arrive. Another one is if you are a single, shy female. Now, the reason why I say that is because a lot of places, I don't mean males as well, if you're a single, shy male, it might not be the right place for you either. But a lot of people here have moved here to make money. A lot of things in Dubai and in the UAE are commission-based, so you will have pushy salespeople. So if you are easily manipulated and easily pushed, just be aware, because over here people will take advantage. I've heard horrible stories about real estate agents, horrible stories about company formation places. Yeah, it's just, you have to be a person who has got quite a strong head and can stand up for themselves. Over here, a lot of people are scared of the police, so I would just use that to your advantage. If somebody does you wrong, just say name and number, Emirates ID, I'm going to report you to the police. And then it goes on back to my other point where it's like, if you are easily influenced with material stuff, it's probably not the best place for you to be because it's endless here. There's always something. There's always a new thing that's coming out. There's always a new place to go visit. You can spend all your pay here, and that's exactly how they've made Dubai. You earn your money tax-free, but you also spend a lot of your money tax-free. So yeah, those are my do's and don'ts. I hope this has helped. Put it in the comments below if you have any of your own that you would recommend or share around with other people that are thinking about moving to the UAE or things that you want to think about. If you want me to do a video on it, put it in the comments.
Please like, subscribe, share, and drop your comments below for your thoughts on what's going on. I'll see you on the next one.